afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. Almost a month ago, I stood in this very room detailing the dangers of the Arizona Supreme Court's decision to uphold the 1864 total abortion ban. In the weeks since, we've seen women and healthcare providers suffer from the chaos and confusion caused by this ruling. I've heard from doctors who were unsure if they would wind up in a jail cell for simply doing their job. Women who told me they didn't know if it was safe to start a family here in Arizona. These excruciating conversations are exactly why I have made one thing clear, very clear. This ban needs to be repealed. I said it in 2022 when Roe was overturned, and I've said it again and again as governor. But as they have for 160 years, extreme politicians came up with every excuse imaginable to maintain this draconian ban. A ban that was passed by 27 men before Arizona was even a state. A time when America was at war over the right to own slaves. A time before women could even vote. Today, we are doing what 23 governors and 55 legislatures refused to do, and I'm so proud to be the ones that got this job done. And while I'm proud to sign this bill and provide a moment of relief for Arizonans, we still have work to do. Arizona women are still governed by a ban that leaves no exceptions for rape or incest, nor does it account for complications during pregnancy. We do not have guarantees that the basic right to contraception or access to IVF are protected, even as threats mount. Today, we should not rest, but we should recommit to protecting women's bodily autonomy, their ability to make their own healthcare decisions, and the ability to control their lives. Let me be clear. I will do everything in my power to protect our reproductive freedoms because I trust women to make the decisions that are best for them. And I know that politicians do not belong in the doctor's office. I know how hard these conversations can be. I've lived them myself. And I know there's no place for the government in that room. I trust that when it comes to these very personal decisions, that you and your loved ones know what is best. I want to thank the legislators and the reproductive freedom advocates who are standing here with me today. Without you, this would not have been possible. And thank you to every Arizonan who spoke up and made their voice heard, calling for a repeal of this draconian ban. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Senator Hernandez. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Hobbs, and thank you everyone for joining us. Today we are here to celebrate the signing and the passage of HB 2677, which is the repeal of the 1864 total ban on abortion. It is not the ban that was passed in 1977 by a Democratic governor. It was passed in 1864 before Arizona was a state. My heart is so full knowing that this moment was made possible by the community's work, advocates, giants in the movement, and we stand on their shoulders today because of the work that they laid before us. I'm also very, very full. My heart is also very, very full knowing that my Democratic colleagues continued unity and we stayed together and we stayed firm in our commitment to lead Arizona in a responsible way and deliver the solutions that Arizonans were expecting for us. But what this moment has also shown us is that one thing is very clear. Our rights are not protected unless they are enshrined in the Arizona State Constitution. This repeal will go into effect 90 days after sine die, which means that our fight for a better collective future is just beginning. The Republican leadership in Arizona has shown that they are unwavering in their desire to strip us of our rights, our voices, and our votes. Yesterday, on the Senate floor, we heard directly from my Republican colleagues that they believe that this 1864 ban on abortion is the right law for Arizona and that we should uphold that. We have no time to let our guard down. Our state has lived under their constant lack of accountability and transparency for far too long. The fight for abortion rights has simply put a bright spotlight on how corrupt they have truly become. Our ability to celebrate this moment goes hand in hand with the reality that repealing this ban today does not mean we are safe tomorrow. Tomorrow, we could see the majority party bring forward a motion that would cut the 15-week ban down to 9 weeks or even 6 weeks. Arizonans cannot trust this body to follow the will of the majority of Arizona voters. But I hope that the next generation of leaders that will be born out of this moment and out of this fight, the young people in this state that have seen the Trump-stacked U.S. Supreme Court and the Ducey-backed and stacked Arizona Supreme Court, take this movement even further. Young people know that Republicans cannot be trusted to uphold our rights. They do not trust you to make the best decision for you and your family and with your medical provider. They have shown that time and time again. They do not trust you to make the best decision for you and your family. Us, the Democrats, are committed to protecting every Arizonan's right to decide what their future looks like. And we will continue to fight like hell to make sure that politicians and government stay out of those decisions. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to bring up Representative Stephanie Stahl-Hamilton, that has been nothing but a warrior for every single person and all of us every day.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Governor. Thank you all for being here. This is a real moment. It's an historic moment. And it's a place and time where three moments all come together. It's a time where we are doing away with what is in the past that doesn't fit the present. And here we are in the present, looking forward to the future. The ways in which we need to continue to push and to move our state so that it meets the needs and the desires of the people of Arizona. I am grateful to have been just one person in these moments shepherding or trying to shepherd a bill through the legislative process. None of us arrived at this moment without the foresight and the hard work of people like former Representative Athena Salman, who truly paved the way for today. I am so grateful for the unwavering, steadfast support of my Democratic colleagues, who in the midst of the storm, when we wanted to call points of order, when we wanted to correct the record, were steady. They were grounded and solid, knowing that all we needed to do was to show up and vote yes. The rest of it would take care of itself. And boy, howdy, did it. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for helping us mark this point in time where history is changing in Arizona. And thank you all for being a part of the journey. Have a good day.
Hold on.
Just get the white balance on.
Let's do that first page again. Oh, no.
Does that work on radio?
Yes, it does. So, I assume this is question time?
You might want to go to the microphone.
Oh, yeah, everyone take a step back.
I got you.
Hey, how are you? Wait, let's have a woman go first.
Thank you. Janet Shamlin from CBS News. There's going to be a period of time before this takes effect when the other law is already in effect, and that means there's going to be a near total abortion ban in this state for women. What would you say to them?
Well, part of that is the reason that we set up reproductivehealth.az.gov to provide as much information as possible for Arizonans about what care is available, what care is legal, where they can get that care. But it's also why I'm going to fight as hard as I can to make sure that this ban never goes into effect. Yesterday, Planned Parenthood filed a motion with the Supreme Court to continue to stay, or some other legal word that's probably not the correct one, but to make sure that this ban doesn't go into effect, because the level of chaos and confusion that will occur from multiple bans at different times, and just we know how terrible this ban will be, and so we're going to do everything possible to make sure it doesn't go into effect.
All right, Howie.
So I've got a question for actually the three of you, which is, this was the initiative, and I know you signed the initiative. It was one thing when the choice was going to be between basically 0 weeks and viability and whatever else it includes there. If we have a 15-week law, there are a number of Arizonans who believe 15 weeks is appropriate. In fact, 95% of all abortions are performed within the first 15 weeks. So how do you explain to people who may be comfortable with 15 weeks why they should go ahead and then still vote for the initiative?
You know, whether it's a ban that was passed in 1864 or a ban that was passed in 2022, these bans are both draconian. The 15-week ban has no exception for rape or incest or regard for the complications of pregnancy, and Arizonans are going to have a chance to have their say in that. But I think the experience that we just went through the few weeks since the court ruling is exactly why we should not have government involved in these decisions at all.
Yeah, Howie, I mean, I think I've said this before, I know I have, that these are arbitrary numbers. Picking a 15-week or a 6-week, that's all arbitrary. You cannot dictate and you cannot pinpoint when a complication in pregnancy is going to happen. And that's why it is so important to get politicians out, get government out, and let that choice and that decision be between the person and their medical provider. Sí, gracias. Sí, es muy importante que la gente sepa que en este momento cualquier restricción no es beneficial para la gente. Estos números los sacan del aire. Uno no puede determinar cuándo las complicaciones en el embarazo van a pasar, y eso es muy importante, que por eso sacamos a los políticos del gobierno de esas decisiones. Esas decisiones tienen que vivir con la persona y su doctor y su familia.
I think if we're looking at timelines, and clearly today I'm focused on timelines, we've never left the point of being under a 15-week ban. That's when the Citizens Initiative was crafted and started, was under the law that was made in 2022. The returning back or moving backwards to 1864 has not happened yet. We are still, so I think people need to realize that when signatures when the signature process started, we're under the law, we're still under. Our action to repeal this 1864 ban was to keep us from going backwards, to keep us from stepping into the past. And the thing of it is, an attack on freedom is simply that. It's an attack on freedom. Reproductive health care needs to be made available to all patients at all time without the fear of criminalization. And that is why we need to get this enshrined in our Constitution.
Governor Hobbs, Courthouse News. Have you talked to AG Mays about whether she'll still seek review from the U.S. Supreme Court, given that the repeal is going through now?
I did not even know that was on the table. I'm sure my legal team has spoken with her. I have not.
This passed because of the support of 5 Republicans. Do you see this as kind of an unlikely bipartisan issue at this point, just because of the way this has played out?
Let me say that across the state, abortion is a bipartisan issue, and that regardless of party, ethnicity, Arizonans support access to abortion. For these Republicans who did the right thing in this situation, 2 of them voted for the 2022 ban that explicitly contained the trigger clause that triggered this 1864 ban. So this is nothing more than political opportunism. One of the Republicans in the House has sponsored numerous fetal personhood bills that would have the effect of opening us up to an Alabama-style court ruling that would ban IVF in Arizona. This is nothing but political opportunism on their part.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Governor. Could you just mention who all the folks behind you are and why they were chosen to?
Left to right, please.
So
Why are they here with you?
most of these folks are the Democratic legislators who led on this issue and fought to overturn this ban. And then several of them are they represent reproductive health organizations that are working on the ballot measure.
Thank you.
And also not just the ballot measure, but this entire fight.
Other, right there?
What do you make of Senate Republicans announcing plans to put the Secure the Border Act on the ballot? Do you feel like that is at all retaliation for the abortion repeal or abortion measure on the ballot?
I think this is them not being focused on the issues that matter or real solutions to the issues that we're facing. Certainly the border is a critical issue, which is why I've been working from day one to work with communities on the border about what we can do to help solve the issues they're facing because of the federal government's failure on this issue. I understand the frustration that leads to legislation like this, but this is the same bill that they sent to me and I vetoed, and it's not going to solve the problem. In fact, many of law enforcement in those communities were not supportive of this legislation.
Right there.
Governor Hobbs, a lot of the supporters of this 1864 abortion ban cited religious reasons for why they support it. Do you believe in America today that there is a true separation of church and state?
That's a loaded question, and I'm going to pass on that one. I think that regardless of where you're at with church and state, people are entitled to their own religious beliefs, and that does not entitle them to force those on other people when it comes to their own bodily autonomy and personal health care decisions.
Right there? I can't see it, sorry. Right, yeah, right there.
How are budget negotiations going? Are you more motivated to get a budget done so the session will end and this repeal will take effect?
Budget negotiations are happening. They are moving along separate from this issue, and I anticipate we'll be able to wrap up really soon.
Right there.
Governor Hobbs, we know that there's this initiative to have this issue also on the ballot this November, meaning that this isn't the end. What message do we have for Arizonans in regards to that?
Well, I am thankful that Arizonans are going to have the chance to make their voice heard on this issue. I've been clear where I stand, and I would encourage every Arizonan to make sure that they're voting for this in November.
For any of the legislators, speaking on the legislative session ending, do you think that Republicans will do anything to try to extend the length of the session to try to keep the repeal from going in, as long as they can?
Can I just really quick before you come up, I just want to clarify my last answer. When I said I encourage Arizonans to vote for this, I didn't mean for. I'm in the government building. I can't advocate for or against a ballot measure. But I encourage them to make their voices heard, is what I meant.
And that's what you meant all along.
I did not mean for.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have seen a trend that when they're on the losing side of something, they scramble to try to throw confusion at the voters. So I would not be surprised if they try to find delay tactics on delaying the session so that the bill cannot take effect, or it extends of when it would go into effect.
So maybe you see that going as far as with the budget process as well? They might try to extend that.
Listen, they use anything at their disposal, so.
How do you fight back against those delay tactics?
Try to work within the rules like we did yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, yep.
You mentioned, of course, possible, motions to cut the limit time. Is that based on something that you may have heard, any buzz around there, or maybe is it just your imagination running wild?
Well, I think I'm not the person in the party that lets their imagination run wild, but I would just say because of how we have seen the Republican majority work is why I say that.
All right, other questions? Being short on time.
I want to take one. Where is the Attorney General? Was she invited?
I don't know.
I'll get back to you on that later. Others?
That means the answer is no. Well, I guess that raises the question, I sort of.
Hey, hold on.
Yeah.
Cameron has a question.
So in terms of the budget talks right now, you said we could be wrapping up soon. Are you at the point, I know it usually takes around 10 to 12 meetings, from my understanding, where leadership meets with your staff. Are you at the point in the process where you now came into those talks?
We are close to that.
And right there, that'll be our one more question.
Athena, you're visibly emotional today. I was wondering if you could tell us where all that emotion comes from and how you're feeling now that this has been signed.
Make sure y'all use good photos of me, please. I'm sorry I did not come prepared to speak today. When I was a freshman in the legislature, Governor Hobbs was the Senate Democratic leader. And I just had such a strong role model to look up to when it comes to reproductive freedom. And so to be in this moment where even before the Dobbs decision had been issued, we started sounding the alarm, and the first time this bill was introduced was in 2019 under my sponsorship. And now to have Governor Hobbs, who has just been such a fierce, steadfast defender in the governor's office, and Representative Stahl Hamilton, get the bill. I mean, it's only her first time carrying the bill. It's just, I can't stop thinking of my daughters and how they will have a future. And as we continue to go into the future and the constitutional right to abortion and reproductive freedom, that future generations will not have to live under the restrictions and the interference that we've had to experience. So it's just been an incredible moment, and I'm going to turn it back over to Hobbs.